Thank you for joining us for a special discussion on cryptocurrency. I'm Dr. Mark Regershovsky, JSAL Resident Senior Fellow, and joining us to discuss his work with cryptocurrency is Mr. John Casano from Strike Labs. John started his career in 2001, focused on evaluating and investing in hedge funds for institutional clients. In 2012, he quit his job and raised money to form Financial Diligence Networks, which he sold 2.5 years later. Since then, John has been a serial entrepreneur. He's built and exited about 5 companies/products. Recently, he co-founded Paragon Intel, which aimed to apply the SIGINT and HUMINT techniques from the intelligence community to C-suite individuals of large public companies using only public information. John also formed and was the CEO of JetTrack.io, which used ADS-B signals to track aircraft as an indication of future strategic deals. Since leaving JetTrack, John has been focused on building Strike Labs. Strike Labs creates and deploys advanced technical solutions in a few months for small groups of mission-specific experts focused on national security and scientific advancement. John has done work for SOCOM's S&T Directorate via the University of South Florida when his firm built the IAE Academic Consortium portal. His team also competed in the Wildfire Data Challenge, where they focused on 3 areas in cryptocurrency. 1, tracking the geographic movement in cryptocurrency as it exchanges to fiat currency. 2, applying algorithms to the blockchain to find patterns indicative of hacked assets that are attempted to be hidden. And 3, tracking the movement of assets from a hack from a micro point of view. Before I turn it over to John, I'd like to remind the audience the views expressed during this interview are solely those of the interview subject and the moderator. They do not necessarily reflect the views, policies, or positions of the U.S. government, the Department of Defense, U.S. Special Operations Command, or the Joint Special Operations University. John will now discuss his involvement in that competition. John?
Thanks, Mark. Thanks for the great introduction. I appreciate that. I'm going to pull up the slide right now and I'll share my screen. Well, first off, I just want to, thanks again for the introduction. It's great to be able to speak with you to explain some of the stuff we built recently when we did compete in the Wildfire Data Challenge about 2 months ago. So just understand what we are and what we're not. My team, we are not ex-military, we're not ex-intel. We're not necessarily experts in natural language processing or object recognition. We're not really focused only on automation. Certainly not academics, although we do have some PhDs that work for us, and we're not necessarily builders for data scientists. What we are, on the other hand, we're ex-industry guys. So our group is a small group of team from fintech, Amazon, and that sort of area. We're really good at finding solutions quickly, focus on scale, and that might mean actually throwing people at the problem in a very scalable way. Pretty good at productionizing things that are written in academic white papers, and we like to be builders for intel analysts and operators. And I guess more importantly, we want to help out. So first and foremost, we want to be here to help. We were invited to participate in the Wildfire Data Challenge. It was an honor to be there. And there are many projects that we discussed. The URL at the bottom of this page here has a list of them if they're still available. There was like 14 we thought about. Our intention was that we didn't want to build something over a month that the unit already had in place. We wanted to make sure that we could actually pass off some asset that was valuable. So we focus on this topic area of counter threat finance. And this is a quote directly from the data challenge organizers. It's how do we visualize cryptocurrency and demonstrate the flows into certain areas, how to use blockchain information to see where it's going in and out of countries of interest. So some facts of note before you actually understand what this is, and I think Mark have done a really great job with this in the white paper, which is obviously how we got into touch with each other. But the blockchain ledger is public and readily accessible. So there's this idea that blockchain is completely anonymous. That's certainly not the case. So what is the case is that it's pseudo-anonymous. So meaning that all wallets and transactions of wallets are absolutely public. Anyone can go and find any ID or any wallet that they like. But the thing that's hidden is the ID of all those wallets and who owns those things. So you can still see all the transaction and everything else like that. But you can't necessarily see who owns that wallet. So that was a big thing for us. And of course, the only geographical information on the chain relates to where the blockchain is mined, or where the ISP providers are, and where the transactions go through. It doesn't necessarily show you where people are when they're taking money in or out or that sort of thing. So when we saw the challenge first, we found this website, and it was great because we thought we kind of fix it, that the problem has already been solved. But if you look closely, this is actually a real-time image of a website, and you can see a lot of things going on in New York. Looks like Northern California and up here, and certainly in Iceland. So this makes sense. You think about what's happening here. These are images of Bitcoin being mined, and the reason why you see things in Iceland is because it's expensive from an electrical standpoint, to cool the servers when they are being mined. So when you have the servers based in Iceland where it's cooler, it's frankly a lot cheaper to actually mine it. It's more profitable. So that's where you see happening here. So this solution here was not a solution to the problem. It only shows where people are mining it, and they could be based anywhere. So this website did not help. Cryptocurrency exploration really depends on your point of view, Mark, as you mentioned. So you have the micro point of view, like that's very looking at a very small thing, i.e. the microscope. So, and that's exploring a certain known event or person, and you manually explore all the nodes and edges, transactions or accounts around those things. There's also the point of view of exploring cryptocurrency on the macro point of view. So like looking at the solar system. So in that situation, you don't necessarily have a person or transaction in mind, and you're more focused on flows and trends, and you might want to actually do things to be alert of important things happening. So one of the things we did was actually make a list of cryptocurrency hacks and saw like patterns in those hacks and what happened as a result of that. There was this one incident that was really, really interesting because it was something that they talked about how someone stole a lot of money, and they quote, the attacker had already sold all the tokens, which I thought was interesting because if you actually look at the ID of that thing, you could follow where the tokens kind of went, and essentially track where the tokens went and potentially who took them. So there are two tools we came across that I want to point out to you. There are different use cases. We have no economic interest in any of these things. We just thought it's important to bring up to your attention. CipherTrace is really good for a data engineer, data science, for an Intel analyst who doesn't want to play with Python and that type of thing. There's this code here that takes place. I just clicked on it right now, and it brings up a node. It's really cool. So this is one transaction that took place. Mark, can you still see my screen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, thank you. So this node says, they're buying, 1,813 Bitcoins. But if you click on this button right here, it actually breaks it out and sees where's it going afterwards. Boom. So now we just see that this blockchain or this node actually sent money to different places, but most of the money is going to this node over here. And you could follow this over and over again. And what you notice is a pattern of transactions where most of the money goes to one spot and another small amount goes somewhere else. You keep on tracking this, and this goes on for like 20 units long. The reason why this happens is because if you think of this, if someone was to go and steal money, they want to try and get it out of the fiat current of the blockchain, they have to create as many false leads as possible. So they take like 20 million bucks and move almost all of it to one spot and put another small spot somewhere else. And they do it over and over and over again, like 20 generations later, hoping that you kind of get lost in the trail. And that's exactly what's happening here. So if you keep on just looking at this thing over and over again, you'll eventually get to the point where they took the money out or moved it to a different account with other things that are hacked. This pattern is called peeling, because you're peeling a small amount over it. And obviously, because this happens all the time, this is a normal pattern that happens, you could actually apply algorithms to actually begin to track it. So this is a very good tool, highly recommend it. Back to the presentation. So why do we care? Well, I think we care for two reasons. Number one, people are circumventing sanctions, and they fund, they quote unquote fund different political humanitarian ideologies that are different from the US. So this was from, a CNBC article, how North Korean hackers charged in massive cryptocurrency theft. And you have other things like that as well. Iran moving to the next, trying to control the cryptocurrency there as well. We also care because of terrorist activities. So terrorists use cryptocurrency as a denominator for their operations. It also makes counterterrorism more difficult. But if you just look at this picture on the right, and I just found this on the internet, wasn't really looking that hard. This is calling for supporting the Mujahideen in Syria. And they said, yes, you could fund us through this Bitcoin wallet. So they're putting it out there. So you could actually track the money going directly into this thing, and potentially where it goes from there. So we built the demonstration on the Wildfire application. Don't have access to it right now, so unfortunately we can't see it, but it does a lot of interesting things of some of the stuff we've done as well, mostly on exploring nodes and other information around that. But we also considered just simply making a list of addresses and transactions by bad actors, and then cross-correlating that with other things. Creating an algorithm that tracks the behaviors that are exhibited in the laundering process, so the peeling part. And we really wanted to get down deep into tracking cryptocurrency tracking assets as it leaves cryptocurrency into fiat currency. So there's a reason for that. Our hypothesis is that adversaries can move to cryptocurrency very, very easily, but they actually need fiat currency for operational purposes. And that large sudden movements of cryptocurrency into fiat currency in a certain geographical area would be noticeable, and that those actions may actually be a foreign indication of future attacks. So if you could track all the currency going from cryptocurrency to fiat currency in one area, you might think, okay, well, this is a lot of transactions happening right now. There might be an operation happening next month or two, or week, or whatever it might be. So that was our hypothesis. We haven't proved it to be true. The problem is that you need to actually track all the ATMs and stuff like that, actually the physical entities that the currency transacts from crypto to fiat. And so the good thing is that we do have a list of that directory. So this here is a list of all Bitcoin ATM manufacturers. A top 10 are ATMs, account for over 60% of all the ATMs out there. There are 577 operators who run 7,000 of these things, but a lot of them are based in the US. And for those certain areas of the community, getting a hold of that data might be of interest. So you can certainly do it. So how do you collect wallet IDs? Well, it's the same way you eat an elephant, with just one bite at a time. So if there are 7,000 or so ATMs, you would simply just send a human to every single machine and or teller and take out a specific amount of money. And you go to the blockchain and see the ID that money came from. And that's the exact node that takes place between that translates the fiat currency, the cryptocurrency into fiat currency. And you would simply do this over and over again and repeat the process to confirm accuracy. So this is not a small task, but it's certainly scalable with the proper crowdsourcing. And it could be really great, because the end result would be, you could see a map of all the ATM and kiosks in the world. You could see every single transaction coming out of those tasks. And then you'd be able to see precisely the flow of data, the flow of assets from cryptocurrency into fiat currency in any geographical region, and compare that over time. So this solution does actually meet the requirement of actually meeting the objective of what we're trying to do. Why this might not work. ATMs or kiosks might use a different ID for every single transaction. There might be some ATMs that are not really known or published, but that bad adversaries use. And the growth of these ATMs and kiosks micro exponentially to the extent that actually sending people to these locations to keep track of these things would be hard. But even if it does work, you have some great data. So some future work that we're interested in is really just automatically detecting illicit transactions. So actually creating the algorithms, putting them on the blockchain to realize that these things are likely going on. These things are likely important for you to focus on. It's a sense of peeling or a hack or something like that. That's certainly very, very interesting to us. The second thing is automating some open source intelligence by conducting dark web searches. So someone will say, well, here's my node, or here's my ID in my wallet, please send me the money. And my email address is msmith@gmail.com. Well, that certainly might be Megan Smith, Matt Smith, something like that. And you could actually start to find out who those people are because of they're leaking information that way. This white paper on the left actually indicates like a handful of types of things you could do to look into that. And then lastly, this is a picture of a Bitcoin ATM. I think what you'll notice right away is that people are taking fiat cryptocurrency out of the fiat currency, but there's a camera on this thing, right? So every single time someone takes money out, there's a picture of them being taken. Now, if this work is being done overseas, I'm sure that we find some interesting ways to get access to this data. Work is being done in the US. I'm sure there's probably interesting ways as well that we'll leave you guys up to, but you can certainly do some facial recognition on every single currency transaction, find out what's going on and start to track that as well. So that's interesting. So Mark, that concludes my presentation. We're happy to talk to anyone that wants to learn more about this, and happy to help out in any way we can. Mark, thanks for the opportunity. I'll pass it back to you, sir.
John, thank you so much for that presentation. And like me, I'm sure you also enjoyed John's presentation. If you'd like to learn more, we have a cryptocurrency quick look up on the JSL Press website. We also paste a link below where you can click on that. I'll also include John's contact information should you want to reach out to him to learn more. I'd like to thank the audience for tuning in to this JSL production. We hope that you'll come back in the future to hear more important discussions that relate back to the soft mission. Thank you.